Hola, everybody. Welcome to Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of submarines, the show of hip-hop, the show of records recording. Today's guest is Shid Barrett of the wonderful Half Step. This is an interesting conversation, and it's slightly different than conversations I've done before because this goes a lot of places. Man, we talk about movies, we talk about love, we talk about death, music, like everything. And I feel like, in a sense, an hour or a single segment wouldn't really capture the depth and the moving nature of this conversation I had with Shid. So I didn't know much about him to begin with, and what I found out about the places he's been, the adversities he's seen, the death he's overcome, it's been ubiquitous around him in a lot of different ways. And honestly, there's no better way to salute Shid's life than to bring two parts in this interview. And we're going to start the first one right now. And I really hope you enjoy part one of my interview with Shid Barrett.
Was through the production side of it and not necessarily like the greats or the classics, because I got into a fight, or not a fight, but it was an argument with my grandfather. He picked me up from school. I think it was like junior high. This
is your grandfather, what, 60s at this time? Or
at the time, yeah, he's probably in his mid to late 60s.
Okay.
I think I was like 11 or something.
Right.
Or no, it was right after. It was literally the week of the release to Paul's Boutique.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's immensely influential time. Yeah.
So I remember having this conversation. I mean, like, I put it in and had the cassette, and he was like, "Yeah, whatever." And it was like, "Please let me listen to this." And so we're rocking it, and then he asked me, he's like, "Who'd you say this was?" I was like, "It's the Beastie Boys." He's like, "Kind of sounds like Kool and the Gang."
Oh my god, that's
so
amazing.
I was like, "No, I didn't." And at the time, like, I Kool and the Gang was kind of a name around the house, but it wasn't anything.
It wasn't popular until after, right? Like, people kind of knew, but only until it's sampled afterwards that people really understood what the source material was.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, Kool and the Gang was. I mean, in my household, it was like, oh yeah, but I looked at it like, oh, that's my mom's music.
Oh wait, sorry, I'm thinking of the Sugar Hill Gang.
That's
what I'm thinking. No. Kool and the Gang was big.
Yeah,
they were really big. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I just was like, I don't.
But it's your mom's,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about. And so we get back to his house, and he's like disappeared for like an hour or something. He's gone, and he finally comes down. He's got this little box of all these 45s, and I'm like, what is that? And he puts it on, and plays it, and he's like, that is what that's
what we're listening to. Yeah.
So that was my exposure to, like, oh shit, this is not that's not their music. This is just a groove in there,
Oh, it's killer.
So that was really it. So I got really, and then as time went on, I remember just listening to Blue Note records, even in my early, my mid to late 20s.
Right.
And discovering tracks that were just like, you're like, this is, like, in some cases you were kind of like, I'd listen to it and be like, why would you sample this? Because it was so good.
Yeah,
you're like, I get why you would sample it, but I mean, this is amazing. So
right. Well, I mean, it's just Daft Punk, right? Like, Robot Rock is the song. They just sampled it almost directly. And it's like, why would you sample it? Because it's a fucking great sample.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that when it's like so close to the original that it's not even building on it necessarily?
And that's a different, like, that's, I feel like it's, in some cases, like, on one half, I appreciate it because of the fact that it's almost like a revisitation or a reintroduction to that, which is cool. The only thing that really sucks is because I remember there being, even for me personally, as this was just a hobby, you know, but I was around a lot of people that were also doing it.
Right.
But I remember how much work we put into
To creating something.
to honoring the sample.
Yeah.
But not
Not just
like,
lifting it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like making it kind of nuanced that you're trying to create a different perspective on the sample versus just using the police's every breath you take in a song and then redoing a chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I got to tell you. So I just got back from London, and obviously there's lots of people performing in the streets and stuff. And some of it's cool. Little older women or older ladies playing flutes in the subway. Fucking love that, right?
Yeah.
But then you get the dude with the dreads who's singing Bob Marley over some congos, and it's not even the same progression.
Right.
And then some other dude who's playing, oh my God, it drives me nuts that they're just like, well, I know D, A, and G on the guitar, so whatever hook I can find is just going to have to fit into that.
Yeah.
And it seems like really disrespectful and just pointless all together, you know?
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I remember when I started picking up gear for this, when I was like, okay, I need to figure out this, because there was, you know, like a lot of the thoughts that I had about the sound that I really dug and I appreciated were coming from a place of what everybody loved about the subsonic era, the golden era hip hop, like just from the production side.
Right, right. Are you an 808? Do you have an 808? Did you ever
get
that? Yeah.
Actually, no, I borrowed an 808, but I had my first piece of gear was an SP12, which was like what Pete Rock made. Pete Rock and CL Smooth did the Made Ingredient with an all the production was made with an SP12.
Wow.
And it's like, you're like, oh, this is stupid. Like, you process like between the bass notes and how he figured that out.
Yeah.
Like, it's
so much simpler. Like those boxes, you call them a groove box, call them a drum machine, whatever, right? 909, 808, 901, the two biggest ones, of course. Like, to think that that's where a sound was born is in this box,
right?
And like that, it's almost like the DNA. That those are the 46 chromosomes of all modern music. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can go back to the Beatles and stuff. You talk about organic, but in terms of electronic sampled music, that's where it all starts. Yeah. Every top 40 hit now. What 130, 140 BPM? It's all that kick. It's the same fucking.
Yeah. So I got more. I mean, it was more. I was fascinated with beats, and I was listening to other people's beats, and even like making beats based off of their stuff. And I was like, you know, like I'd be like, that's a dope sample. I need to find out. And I would literally, in some cases, I would like email them like, hey, what was that record? And then I would like, if I didn't have it, which most cases I didn't have it, I would find it and then try to find, you know, like.
So the collection grows.
And it just got stupid. So people, you know, like I remember my ex at the time couldn't. She was like, this record is, you know, like I was playing this record and it was a terrible record. Yeah. But I literally bought the record for 4 seconds.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh God, no. I remember the cover.
Oh, it was even better.
It was just a guy that was he was a Latino, like had a Latin band, and he was wearing this gold onesie. Oh, and it was like
it wasn't Geraldo. You remember that dude, Geraldo?
Yeah, it wasn't. But it was like this guy. I mean, he had like a perm. It was like definitely like late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, okay.
On stage with like this old school Hammond setup, like multi-tiered and a Rhodes, and then, you know, like it must have been, I don't know how many Leslie cabinets were up there.
There's a song that Lydia introduced me to. Do You Want a Funk? Do you know the song? It's like George. I can't remember the dude's name, but he's like a French guy, but he looks Mexican. And that sounds like exactly the kind of cover, because it's kind of like disco-y.
Yeah. Has a very disco look to it.
But he has like he doesn't really have a good voice, but the beats are great.
Yeah, he's speaking Spanish the whole time.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I'm not sure, but I just, you know, those old school covers, the typical like big stage setups. There's like 15 people on stage, right? Spread out like
most of them have mustaches.
Yeah,
like at least half of them. Yeah.
So, and they're all sweaty and just kind of like, you know.
So what were those 4 seconds like? Was it just a drum sample instrument?
It was actually it was like if you could, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a mandolin.
Oh.
It was like a bass lick, but with a mandolin.
No kidding.
It was really low, and the percussion behind it was a clave. It was just like this.
Oh wow!
This guy,
yeah.
But the way
kind of exotic instruments, nothing that's real too standard instrumentation.
Right. So it was just something. It was just like it just sounded really dope, and then I was like, man, I just want to. My first instinct or the first thought that I had about it was because this is, I mean, I had to clean the record a couple times. So it was like, man, this is really like, wanted to kind of fill out what I thought it sounded like. So I like went back in. I mean, I was learning as I went. So it was just like filling.
How did it turn out when you got done with it?
It was good, man. I have a laptop that I brought back with me from the East Coast that has all of my shit on it. And I to this day, I have not opened it in 3 years.
It's fun because it's like the Facebook reminders. 3 years ago, it's like, holy shit, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
music is the same kind of thing. It's your memoirs.
Yeah, and it's really kind of a hard. It's also kind of a hard time too because I was really kind of like I was doing it all the time, and then all of a sudden I was just kind of like, oh man, I need to figure stuff out. Like I needed a job.
Right.
It's like I had no money at the time. It's just like I'm just doing
totally
this.
Immersive, I guess, right?
Yeah, I didn't care. I was just making it to make it, and like there were a couple circumstances where I got to make a little bit of money, but I'm talking just dollars. There was nothing.
Right.
I mean, if people loved it, I would just give it away.
But I think I had that same dream at some point, and it's soon faded in my mid-20s, I think. But was music the thing that you wanted to do? Production, is that what you wanted to do, making your living?
Yeah, well, it's weird. I guess I did. I think I looked at it like I was trying to prove something.
Yeah.
You know.
What were you trying to prove? To yourself or to other people? Or?
I think to myself.
Yeah.
I think that because I was dealing with just hearing the two different arguments about beat making, which is like it's not real music. You're taking someone else's music and then you're turning it into
right.
And then my side, which was like I would have never thought to do that with this. This doesn't make any, like this is crazy.
It is unique. It's new and it's original in itself.
Yeah.
It's just points of inspiration. I mean, dude, the Beatles, come on. 12-bar blues, we've been ripping people off we, meaning American white people, have been ripping off fucking 12-bar blues since the 20s, Robert
and that was my position too. I just thought that music bled. I mean, it's like, the difference between somebody saying I'm inspired by and then a person saying I'm feeling this so much that I'm going to find a way to, it would be like even better in my estimation. So
yeah. Well, so what was that moment? Was it a financial one? Like what?
Yeah, it was
when did you sober
financial.
up, so to speak? Were you in Virginia still, or?
Yeah. It was financial, and it was it came at a really odd time because I was in the process. I was still trying to recover from a breakup.
Yeah.
And
how old were you at this point?
Oh God, this is I was like I'm 30, mid-30s.
Mid-30s, okay.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
41.
No shit.
Yeah.
Man, you look younger than most 41
It's
people.
the booze.
It's the booze.
It's
It pickles you, but some people have pickles and wrinkles, others it preserves.
Preserved. I feel 41 though when I wake up, I promise.
Do you?
Yeah,
you don't look 41, so good on you, mate.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
So it was a trying period, obviously a lot of probably emotional turmoil and all that shit.
Just
right?
I mean that and just just making mistakes left and right, just thinking I had an idea and then I was really kind of fighting. I mean, I'm just getting out of the military. I'd been out of the military for a while at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't have any
Which branch?
Navy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Tech job or something more
I was
technical?
It was definitely technical.
Yeah.
I was a submariner for 5 years, and then I also was attached to explosive ordnance disposal unit, mobile unit 2 out of Little Creek.
Wow.
So I was doing that for a little bit.
Well, so let me take a step back then for a second. So I know what I know of people. I don't have a dossier. I don't have a service of any sort, right? We have this Facebook shit, and you get little glimpses into people's personalities and stuff. And I suspect because I think I saw an old picture, maybe Take Back Thursday, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you had served. So, but going even back beyond that, did you grow up in Virginia?
No. I grew up here.
Oh, where about in Texas?
Houston and Austin.
No shit. Where in Houston? That's where I lived there for a bit.
So I lived. I went to high school in Houston at I guess it would be Spring. So North
Spring.
Houston. Westfield High School, and then my parents were both from the same neighborhood. Well, almost
in
the
Houston?
same neighborhood. Yeah, in Houston.
Yeah.
And they actually it was pretty awesome because they lived about 5 blocks apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they grow up 5 blocks apart?
Yeah.
So it's just like a high school romance?
No, it wasn't.
No.
They didn't actually start dating until I think my dad was. They started dating before my dad joined the Air Force.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but the families knew each other.
No shit.
Yeah.
Just because they're 5 blocks away?
Yeah, they knew each other. I guess through I think it might have been church and
Yeah.
some other. One of my aunts was really close with my dad's sister. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they were in high school.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So when did they end up meeting?
Oh man.
You said it's before he went into the Air Force.
Yeah.
Probably post high school at some point, right?
I think he went in at 71.
Oh, 70. Okay.
So yeah, he was. Yeah, I want to say it was 1971, and I guess they got married in 73.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad got shipped. He was in Vietnam and then got back. And then when he got back, we moved to. I was born in Italy and then moved to England.
Was he stationed in
Yeah,
Italy
he
at that
was
point?
stationed- yeah, he was
And then
stationed in Naples.
moved over to England, I guess.
Right, and then I think when I was 5, I was 5, and then we moved back to Houston.
Do you remember any of that European times? It's
I remember,
hard
yeah. I don't remember Italy, but I do remember England.
Oh, that's a killer.
So I had like my first bit of primary school was there.
Oh,
and
no
then-
kidding.
Yeah, and then I had
Houston's a downgrade in a sense, isn't it?
yeah. Well, it's weird now. It's weird because that's a city that I remember my parents having. I remember them being very. So the neighborhood was
Was it
divided.
in Spring too? The
No,
neighborhood?
no. It's
Okay.
South Houston.
Oh,
It's the
okay,
opposite.
okay.
Yeah, it was way south.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's where they were, and I mean, we were up north, actually in Humble too.
Humble. I was gonna say, yeah, I know a couple people.
Yeah.
I think I think Paul McGee. You know Paul McGee in Chicago.
Yeah.
I think he's from Humble. Either that or Tomball. Yeah. I gotta have him in here, but I met him a long time ago in Vegas when he was working out there, and it's like,
Get the hell out!
from
I didn't know
Humble?
that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're Texas. Texas produces a lot of good talent. Let's put it that way.
That's crazy.
Except
I
our
would've-
leadership in the state, but otherwise,
Yeah. Oh God, don't get me started. News today sucks.
fucking Abbott, man.
Yeah.
And let's agree to say that Abbott is morally corrupt.
Oh, dude,
Does that work?
Yeah,
Good.
it's like it's funny I was just thinking about this on the way over here, listening to NPR. Just how funny is it that some of the conservative values are actually pretty fucking radical.
They're
Like, you're just
totally
like,
radical.
and it just there's no. And I was actually listening to the vetting process for Syrian refugees to come into the country, and it's
It's got to be pretty legit.
It's
I mean,
it's fucking thorough.
multifaceted. Oh, of course.
And I was just thinking what? Yeah, all right, cool.
I mean, it's pretty suspicious that the gypsies were casted away. Like, nope, no gypsies coming into Germany. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's very problematic to start on these terms. We're like, nope, you're this way, you're this race, you're not coming in. I mean, that is a whole nother conversation. But suffice it to say that no other state would be so outspoken about being accepting. No,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think Greg Abbott is overcompensating. He just wants to show everybody he's got a big ego, right?
I don't know, and I guess that's kind of my issue with it. Like I think that if one runs for that political position, like I think that should be kind of default. Like what I mean, like what at what point, like what are you trying to, dude? You're the governor.
Dude.
Like you're the fucking governor.
Right.
There's no.
The single guy that whose narrative sets the tone for the state.
Yeah.
Right. Even if you can't get everything approved via veto and all that, right? Like that's fine, but just, I mean, we couldn't write a better sitcom than this. This is a fucking joke, dude.
This is
It's totally a joke.
It's
It's all clickbait. Everything Greg Abbott says is just purely clickbait.
Yeah.
It's political fodder to, I suppose, position him to be running for president at some point, of which no one will take him seriously. Dude,
based off of this platform that he's got right now,
Yeah.
he doesn't have a pot to piss in.
there's not shit to piss.
It's like you're the governor of northern Mexico,
Right.
and your ideals, and it's like even like not that it matters, but it's still funny to me that his wife is Hispanic, and
Right.
it's like there's these.
Well,
this
it's
no, I know it doesn't matter, but it's just like the when you look at it, like if you paint that picture,
right,
and the things that are coming out of his mouth and how,
it's like even he doesn't believe that shit. I remember we'll end on this point about like the political piece because it's like we could go on for fucking hours about it. But so I remember I can't remember, I was at dive bar or something. I was hanging out with a friend, and his friend and her coworker came along, and I didn't know what she did. I'm like, oh, so what do you do? She was like, I'm a lobbyist for the Republican Party. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get tense, guys. I gotta step back a look, right?
Hold up,
but no, it was good.
I need another shot. Yeah, here we go.
Totally reasonable person, like knows what's going on. I'm like, but you guys, why do you fucking hate the gay people so much? Why do you hate gays so much? And she's like, we actually don't. Many of us are. It's all money. It's like a lot of the guys that are completely publicly against homosexuality, they're closeted gay people. Like, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's just big business. You're just trying to save face, And from that moment forward, I was like, well, because I asked her about the war against women. She's like, oh, it's not really a war. It's just stuff we say. I'm like, okay, fine.
Even if that is true, like, I mean, and obviously it's your...
Well, in her particular perspective, yeah.
It's like, that's still like what's amazing about that, and what's fucking hilarious is that it's at the expense of people. You're like, you're like, okay, fine. Yeah. You're like, oh, if it's all about money, but you're still fucking people over.
You are fucking people over left and right.
Like, you don't have, like, where is the... Is there anything in there that is there any kind of like checks and balance system that you have where you
what
stop
about
and
humanity?
be like,
What about being humane? I mean, none of that even comes into play.
Like,
they're Mexican, just boot them out.
Yeah, just I mean.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. It seems simple enough for you.
Yeah.
Jesus.
At this point, man, I can't remember. I mean, it's not anything I've ever even said out loud, but I enjoy being a morning person to read this shit. And I get up and I'm like, okay, let's see and I'm like, oh, oof,
jeez.
Yeah. And it's like, in the face of it's all comedy to me. Like, I look at it and you're just kind of like, all right, well, I mean,
Vonnegut couldn't have wrote better social satire. There's no way.
There's no way.
It's perfectly pitched. And it makes me wonder if it's real at all. Right, I kind of think it's just this big ruse, a big illusion.
You kind of want it to be like a giant. Like I actually had a dream a couple nights ago that everything that we've experienced within the last like 10 months, 11 months is the bad.
You fell off the side of a boat, Rashid. Yeah, that's what happened. You've just been unconscious.
The most badass Candid Camera episode ever. Like that
who's
shitty Folgers commercial we replaced.
Yeah, dude. Who's behind the curtain? That's all I want to know. Like, who's back there being like,
like just
suckers.
Wait for it. Wait for it. It's terrible.
It's insanely stupid. So, all right, that's a good. Okay, I feel a little bit cleansed now. This is good. A little bit purged because it's just been building up. Yeah. I've been back in the country for less than a fucking day, and I still am like, I'm already overwhelmed and done with all this shit.
I felt the same way we got back from Turkey. I was kind of like, ugh.
It's so different. You just get back, you're like, oh, great. Yeah. And I was watching a clip with Bill Maher and Stephen Colbert, which was fun to watch them kind of play it. I don't know if it's a legitimate tension or what, but like Bill Maher brought up a great point. He's the one that started political satire and political commentary like in a forum on TV with Politically Incorrect. And I was like, oh, good point, Bill. Well fucking done. You just launched this terrible genre of TV. Yeah. But anyway, I had no idea. I never really realized like he was at the forefront of it. And he was. There was no MSNBC at that point. Well, no, yeah, CNBC, but I don't think MSNBC.
I don't think it was in that.
Not mid 90s, right?
No, no, it was just. I think it was just Lester Holt.
Yeah, exactly. That dude's awesome.
He's like, hey, what's up, guys? I got
Lester Holt.
Somebody's just handing him shit to say, headlines.
Where'd you get those cool glasses, Mr. Holt? He has the best fucking glasses. Yeah, they're great. He looked very.
He was actually. I just remember like, who the fuck are they? Just cloning some kind of like some fucked up clone of Gumball? Like, what's going on? Even back in the day,
like a slightly slimmer Gumball.
Yeah, you're like he's like a really sweet like if like Gumball and Bond got like fucking just and then you're like, oh, it's Lester Holt.
That's totally it. So like, all right, this would be the distinction to me. Gumball stocks candy bars under the desk, and so in between takes, he's like, all right, candy bar. Fucking Lester Holt, martinis. Yeah. See, that's exactly.
Absolutely. He was always very. I think he was. Yeah, like I remember him dude, I think he did the Olympics, right? He
Yeah.
he covered the Olympics. He was like, and I'm like, dude, how are you not a sports announcer?
Yeah, he's great.
He was
Totally
awesome.
great.
And I
Got
just
a great
remember, like,
voice.
that's when he got my attention.
I want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
That's the metric for me liking somebody. It's like, man, I don't really want to hang out with this guy.
I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool. We'll do this.
Well, so, all right, so we go back to Houston, which we're both from. So I graduated in Katy to give you some background.
Oh, shit, okay.
We're in the student handbook. I came from a really intelligent school environment in Salt Lake City, moved to Houston, got downgraded, went to Katy, and there was a line in the handbook that says, ultimately, do not have relations with sheep. Thank you. That is against school policy. So it's dumbing it down. So that's how I frame Houston, unfortunately, in the 90s. That's how I frame it. Now, whether it was, I'm sure it was better in Montrose or whatever, maybe in Humboldt, maybe in these other areas like Spring. But how was high school for you there?
High school was, oh, man. High school was weird. I was a misfit, man.
What kind of, like a punk misfit?
No, not like that. Like it was not like the when people say misfit, that's like for some reason that's
yeah. They think of the chains and the tattoos and all that shit.
Oh man, I was just a little. I was. Oh god, I had a lot. I remember just starving for attention. I remember that. I remember that I was.
Why was that though? Your parents
man.
work?
Oh, this is. I mean, I was trying. Well, here's the thing, man. I was, for as long as I can remember, the one thing that I know that I've been is just a clown, just the fucking. I've been the jester corps. I've been the jester in almost every I mean, like in the Navy.
Yeah.
I mean, granted.
Do you like that kind of like? Is it the comedy or is it the attention?
I think it was.
You mentioned it's attention, probably.
I think it was. I think in high school it was definitely attention, but I think it turned to comedy. It's like I just honestly just enjoyed like making people laugh.
Yeah.
And
did you ever parlay that into stand up or anything? Writing? No.
No. I've always just taken moments for what they are in terms of. I mean, like my girlfriend hates it, so because it's like she's like. You know, like I'll say something that's hilarious, and then she's like, "It's not funny. It's gonna be." I'm like, "Well, that's kind of funny." You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know,
all
like
the time, every week that
like,
I get
you know
that
what
same.
the fuck I'm telling you. Know I didn't. Why would I? It's like the idea that I would say something so absurd is
right.
You know, like you look like shit today. You know, like that. I know like that's extreme. Like, that's an extreme case, right, but I'm saying that like.
But it's so far like you're just straight facing a joke.
But I've said it when she's like completely dressed up. You know,
yeah,
like
exactly.
She's like she's looking so good, and it's a perfect time to say that.
It's perfectly.
You're like.
But people can't tell when you're joking, can they?
No,
because it's just something.
Well, sometimes I have to. I've learned how to follow up with that. Like I've had to be better about it because I used to just be. There was a guy that I used to bartend for. He was an old boss in Virginia, and he was a huge Bill Hicks fan. And I think back, like looking back, I think he literally was. I mean, he was a tiny guy, and relatively, I think what made him so attractive was that he was so charismatic and so funny.
Yeah,
but he never had a. He was the first guy I ever saw say shit to people that was hilarious, but say it to people that clearly did not have a sense of humor.
They would. Oh man, that's the perfect thing about Bill Hicks.
Yeah,
it's like we get it, but the people in the room never got it.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, until later anyway.
And it was crazy because the thing that blew my mind was that like I think part of me was like, holy shit, and I'm like laughing on the inside,
right?
And I'm watching this guy deal with this guy. Like looking at my former boss and just being like, I'm gonna fuck you up, and then seeing my boss recognize that and find a way to be charismatic enough to not even apologize,
right?
Not backtrack,
because owning it is half of it, right? Because if you don't own it, then people
and he would just run with it, you know. But I was like, holy shit, this is. I mean, like, and I think that. When I started, like everybody, I think that worked for him at the time picked up those habits, but some of us were really good at it, and some of us weren't. I was definitely one of the ones that weren't. But did you? So you? I love the class clown thing. I think I touched on it. Yeah. Right? No, I was. It was. I mean, when I say going back to like the misfit thing, like I was. I think that school was hard because I think that. even I went to a predominantly white school,
Mm.
and it wasn't to the point to where it was like so outrageous, where it was like, but it was definitely, I mean, it was like a harsh minority. At the
Yeah,
time.
sure.
But I remember, I think that I had already had experiences where I was having to explain myself to other kids because of their lack of exposure.
Interesting. Like, do you have an example? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, just, I mean, like, it's just, like, even just having a conversation, people were
Yeah.
like, dude, are you from here? And I'd just be like, well, no,
Wow.
I mean, my parents are from Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. I mean, I'd like like,
But they
it was
still didn't,
always a
like-
difficult, like, I never knew how to answer questions because, I was an Air Force brat, so we moved around.
Right.
So do I tell people I'm from Houston? Do I tell them I'm from Italy, or I was
Right.
born in Italy? Do I tell them, like, I was raised in England and then moved back? Like,
Yeah.
it was always a complicated fucking story. I felt like even back then.
Yeah.
So
Dude, I totally, I feel you. I've moved
So
around so much.
I would say Houston, and or I would talk about something or have a conversation with people, and then it was definitely like this whole like getting into like it was like that was like the dawn of ignorance in a passive way in terms of being a high school kid with other white kids that
Right.
actually you would hang out with, you'd sit at lunch with, and it was never like this tension, but it was definitely like this a void that was in the process of like being filled because of people saying like like what, for example, like I think it was like somebody asking me like if my mom or my dad was white.
Really?
Yeah, and I was
What
kinda
kind of
like,
fucking
no.
question is that?
It's a question that someone asks that doesn't understand, that has a perceived notion, or
Right.
they've been educated to think that I'm not supposed to speak well. Because it was definitely like, growing up as a kid, my dad was kind of like a little bit of a villain.
Yeah. But
Well,
he's Air Force guy, so he's gotta be really, really sharp.
Yeah. He was he was F4 pilot.
Yeah, dude.
So he was definitely, I mean,
So you're gonna be well spoken,
yeah.
no matter what.
But, well, no, I mean, that was like, but I mean, and you think about it, like even Texas standards for that,
Yeah.
like when you go back to like uber Republican white kids in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s, like, and what they're being bred from, or
It's
raised
not pretty.
from. It's like, yeah. So there's a lot of people who are just like, man, like what?
You're
So
challenging my notion.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand you. And then, like I was, I was on the diving team
Oh, cool.
in high school. Like I didn't,
Do you know Alex Shoemaker at the Roosevelt Room?
Yeah.
Yeah, diver, swimmer guy too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, you guys are both tall and slender. I'm very
Yeah.
envious, by the way.
Oh man, I actually I saw my old high school diving photos, like just a couple. I think it was a couple right before we left for Turkey. I was showing my girlfriend these photos, and she was like,
like-
"All right, that you can't be serious."
You
Yeah.
gave that up?
Yeah, looked like Malcolm from the Cosby Show with like just a speedo on.
Yeah, it's
but,
amazing.
yeah, lettered in it and everything.
That's
it was
killer.
nuts.
Well, so, but all right, I'm going to go out on a limb here, no pun intended with the diving board, but was it a very diverse team?
No, no, it wasn't. I think the varsity team, I think it was like 15 guys. It was
Yeah.
the only black guy on there, obviously. I think obviously because at the time it was kind of like, I remember that was, I didn't have, and I never thought about it, by the way. I never looked at it like, oh man.
You're just in the moment. Just do
Yeah,
me and you, right? That's a
No, I
that's
mean,
great.
I've been in and around water all my life.
Yeah,
So it's like, it was never a thing for me. Like,
right.
like my dad teaching me how to swim was probably the best thing ever. Like I've just,
You loved it, so like you
yeah.
took to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been a surfer for 20 years.
No
Like,
shit.
I mean, I spent so much time in Virginia that I remember going out to, I was fascinated with surfers because I remember, getting out to Virginia Beach and being like, oh man, like this is like probably in the, I want to say mid 90s
Mm-hmm.
or no, late 90s. It was probably 98, 97, 98.
Mhm.
And there was a succession of hurricanes that came into town.
Uh-huh.
So I bought this piece of shit of a board. Like it barely floated me. And it was like this it like had been the tip of it. I still have it till this day. It's in
Oh, you
storage.
kept it.
But the tip was bondoed. It was just a terrible.
Yeah, it was just a piece.
But it was $100. Like, so I was like, all right, cool.
Got to
And I
start
took
somewhere, right? Yeah.
took this thing out and would just get annihilated every day.
Yeah.
Every day. But what was crazy about it was that I was doing this all during hurricane swell, and I had no idea that it was like
that's what was causing like the massive. Yeah.
I thought it was like that every day. I was like, I'm gonna go. It's gonna be great.
Well, if you learn in that freaking environment, you're gonna be a brilliant surfer.
So I didn't. I was sucked at it.
Okay.
I mean, I think for 2 months straight, like I was out there. I would literally get up in the morning and drive 40 minutes to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I only started doing that because I overheard guys at the spot talking about like getting up early to catch swell so other people aren't around.
Right.
I thought, well, that's perfect because I don't want anybody to see me eat shit all the time. So being
embarrassed in private is much better. Yeah.
So like I would get up and there'd be like a couple dudes out there, like and I would stay to the smaller breaks and just trying to figure out, understand shit.
Yeah.
It must have taken years.
Yeah.
And then I literally was basically practicing drowning myself for 2.5 months. And then finally it was like a weekday and I caught my first wave. And then after that, I was kind of like, and it was totally accident. I mean, it was like, it was scary. And because I think when looking back, it was like waist to chest high, which is like not ideal conditions for somebody to learn on. But I think I had fallen so much, I knew how to anticipate what I was going to do. And it was crazy, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to stop. So, So then, and I just.
Did you take to it after that?
Yeah, totally. I just
totally
go out. I remember having some of the best days I ever had were actually like little knee-high days, but they were just, the current was pushing so hard. So you'd go out and just grab a longboard and just kind of cruise and walk around. And so I just started buying boards like left and right for no reason at all.
Still have them?
So I have I've sold one board since I started, but I haven't been on a board in 4 years. So.
Is it driving nuts?
No, I mean, no.
I know some people, man, like they got to get out there, or else they'll pull their hair out.
It used to be like that, but I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I was always a swimmer, so when I first moved back, I was just going to deep eddy. And
just swimming anyway.
I mean, I've been swimming. I actually have yet to get in the pool in the last like 3 months, but I've been a religious.
But you
swimmer.
find a way to you flock to the water.
Oh yeah,
in some way or another.
Yeah. It's definitely it sucks because I don't do it as. I mean, like, granted, I live right around the corner from a heated pool.
Yeah,
Stacy's right there. So but it's definitely. It's been one of my loves. But I was, that's what made me weird in high school too.
So you're. I mean, it's hard because God damn it, I feel like race is such a touchy subject. Not like here now, but just in general. And I'm just like, everybody's different. Well, I mean, like on a molecular level, everybody's different, But it's just, it's empathy to me. That's it, right? Like, I am absolutely willing to admit that everybody's different. I don't understand everything about everybody because I haven't been through it. But I want to learn. I want to understand. That's it. That's my only approach I can have, really.
I think. Yeah, but one of the most important things to me, and this is something I have just recently discovered in myself, is that I remember, I've had all of these experiences, and I have fucked up royally on so many levels. But I mean, I think
we all have.
Tail of the tape, I think everyone has in their own right.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think that when I think about those things, and I also think about moments where my race has been a factor, or I've made my race a factor.
Yeah.
And I look back now, it's like I remember, for example, like me, like somebody talking to me about an issue that they really have no business talking about.
Do you remember what it was? Roughly what it was.
I think just talking about like the hardships or the plights of being black and working in a working environment,
right?
For example, like my parents would always, and this is true. Like, I mean, this is something that I was raised with. My parents were always like, no matter what you do, man, you're gonna have to always work twice as hard or 3 times as hard because you're black. It's just the
statistics almost.
Yeah, it's like it's just the nature of the beast. It's just that's how we did it. And
how do you feel about? Were you like, all right, that's how it's gonna be, or were you kind of rebelling against that notion?
No, I didn't rebel against it. it's definitely something that you didn't want. I remember not wanting to hear that or being like, nah, you don't get it. Because my parents were very, they were very like, hey, I want you to understand that. But at the same time, I'm going to make sure that I give you everything that I can.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to think that way. I'm not saying, you know, like the whole idea wasn't to be limited in thought or creativity or focus or desires or anything like that.
Just a heads up?
It was just, just like, hey man, by the way, some douche is going to say this, just, you know, this is for that, you know, this little handle is for that issue or that situation. So, and you know, like at the time when they told me that when I was like 15, 14. So,
I mean, I mean, for anybody 15, that is like, you're already trying to figure out who you are. You're moving around a lot. So you're having to almost redefine yourself every new place, which is a huge thing. Build a social status, not like status, like all of it, right? Yeah. And then on top of it, like, well, and you might have a handicapped in the business world.
And it was like, it wasn't something that was beat over the head. Yeah. But it was more of just the situation of like, hey, you're going to be cool with everyone. Yeah. But not everyone necessarily is going to be cool with you. So you have to figure out how you're going to you need to figure out how to get yourself ready to deal with that. Yeah. And either take it personally and get mad or whatever, or just take it on the chin and keep fucking rolling.
Which one did you take?
Both. I mean, you gotta have, gotta take hard knocks before you get it. But sure. I think that now, like getting back to, I think now it's like having those things, but making sure that you relate it. Like, I get that people are going to have hang-ups about little things. Yeah. Or
that's everybody.
They're not going to have the education. They're not going to be informed or whatever. So am I going to be the guy that goes, oh, you don't know what it's like. Right. Or you don't understand how hard I had it. Or I can just say, okay, this is what I've had to deal with. Sure. And this is what I tried. Yeah. And it didn't work here. It worked here sometimes. Like, that's it. So it's like, I'd rather, it's kind of it's almost in a sense of like, and this is what my parents ultimately, I felt like, were trying to get at, but they never finished it, which was like, if you're going to, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can speak to and friend and whoever you want, whatever you want. Right, right. You can have those things, provided that you have the right mindset for that. So you can't look at things like, oh, I'm the only, I'm the only black guy in the room right now. Yeah. Or, like, granted, there's some funny. I've done that, and generally, it's hilarious when I do it because it's. Like, for me to say that in those moments, it's kind of like, oh shit, man! Like going to a wedding in Iowa.
Oh, Jesus, in the winter,
yeah. And that's my girlfriend's sister.
Fish out of water story. Yeah,
It's kind of like, let's see how this goes. And it's definitely, and it's been. And I, for the sake of like having the right mindset, I've looked at it like, okay, no, I'm not like going to sit here and be like in the corner, just kind of like keeping to myself. I'm going to have fun with this because
for sure. Okay, and cool. that's on the individual, right? Being positive or being pessimistic. Like everybody's entitled to being whichever way. Yeah. And I like that you kind of treat it with some humor, because that humor goes over a lot better rather than being the negative guy who's got his arms crossed.
Yeah. It's better than being angry about things that are. It's ironic that I'm usually angry about the tiniest little things, sort of, as opposed to bigger life-changing, life-altering, like hard circumstantial moments in life where you're kind of like dealing with real issues from other people that are like, you're like, oh shit, I've never heard anybody say that with like such ferocity, and like, you're like, you really mean that, and you're like, why do you mean that? That's the dumbest shit ever, like, it's, and
well,
like
it's important to them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, man, like, like babies do not grow on trees, like it's totally fine, man. Like, it's.
I suppose if
I understand. I see your readings, and I'm gonna say that like it's, but it's like, rather than get bent about things that are very heavy, just choose to deal with them in a way that you're going to benefit. Set an example. And that's
that never hurts. Setting a good example. When does that hurt?
Yeah.
Setting a bad example. A lot more repercussions, I think.
Yeah. So I definitely was kind of, just being a whirlwind of mistakes and just dealing and not to highlight race because it was again like it was not anything I necessarily thought about, but it was always something that people always reminded me at times where I was totally like, it's almost like somebody, you know, like if you're at a party and all of a sudden you're at a big party and you're with a girl and all of a sudden you're like, hey man, your ex just walked in. Some dude just walks up and is like, it's like that dude's like, that's fucked up, man. You didn't have to say anything, you know, like come on.
Either you would have found out, or no, you wouldn't have seen each other, and there would have been no thing. Yeah, people like to incite, drama. You know, it's really, really insane. So, do you think that things are, man? Because I don't know, I can't. I think people are getting better. I feel like we're getting better and worse at the same time. It's one of these where you pat your head and rubbing your stomach, right? Because some people are getting fucking great, and then some people are getting real dumb. And I think the grip that media may have on how we interpret reality, that may indicate that we're getting a lot stupider. But how do you feel just about racial equality, about people being balanced? No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel? Is it getting better?
I'll say this. I think that we need to start, excuse me. I think common sense is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're losing ourselves. I think we make a lot of excuses. If there's an issue that we choose to be heated about or fiery about, you know, I think that there's less of an opportunity to like take a second and think about or process what's being happening, and then having the wherewithal to say, okay, you know what, that doesn't make any sense, or maybe, you know, like maybe investing in another person in terms of their dialogue. Let's say if you're telling me something and it could be anything. You could be talking about something serious or something like mildly important or just kind of like just conversation in the bar or whatever. How you choose to deal with that is what really, I mean, like if you want to get, you know, like if you, let's say we were talking about Paris, you know, and this happened last night. I was having a conversation with another bartender, and we were talking about an instance where I dealt with a guy at the bar that was kind of going in, and it was just misidentification. And I didn't get mad. I was just more of like, hey, if you're gonna talk about this, it's all good.
Fine, yeah.
But
fine,
just come from a place where you're well informed.
Right.
If you don't understand something, or you're just saying something that you read on a ticker or a headline instead of understanding more about it, then do that. Have common sense, man. Like, don't just start running your mouth to garner a reaction.
Because that's what it is, right? It's sensationalism.
Yeah. So it's like, just have some common sense. Common sense also leads to ultimately having better restraint.
Sure.
Because if you see somebody being a dumbass, you're like, okay, this is, I don't have, you know.
You don't feel the need, when you have, when
I'm
you
not
apply
going to dignify an answer to this, you know?
Right. I am not fucking dignified. Exactly. And that is the thing, that's the piece that's missing, is that we're all just respond. So it's like, God damn it, man.
Yeah. It's not me being cocky. It's not me being arrogant in my response. It's being like, you know what? Man,
it's better.
Nobody has time for this.
Dude, but that's, for those of us who value our time, that is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But for people that don't, or somehow feel like the high road always needs to be taken, like no matter what, and it has to be affirmed in a very, very clear visual way.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, so now it's become kind of meta. There's people like, oh, this Syria, that Syria, this Paris, that Paris. Okay, fine, arguing. Yeah. But now there's another layer outside of it, the meta layer, as I like to call it, the cerebral layer, where it's like, you guys can fight about your politics, but I just want everybody to love each other.
Yeah.
Which is like almost even worse.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so pithy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, it is maddening.
It is maddening.
You're like, I get it.
Yeah.
I think ultimately we all would like to be there.
Sure.
But we got to take a few roads and planes, trains, and buses to get there.
Dude, and
you know,
what's the
and
point
you need to be a realist about that. You can't just tell me like, oh man, peace, love. You know, like, trust me. Sure. I think that's everybody's ideal.
Maybe.
But, you know, like, how are you? My question to you is, okay, what are you going to do about it?
Right. Just mentioning the concept of adding love, interjecting love into the social, or rather the social media realm.
Right.
Okay, great. Yeah, good, man. Fucking cold fusion. Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
how are we gonna do it?
So that's,
Oh,
I mean,
well,
yeah, I don't, and that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna have I mean, like, if you're so committed to having a point, or you're trying to make a point, or
Yeah.
you're, speaking on an issue, like, if you're gonna do that, please, 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 for fuck's sake, have like, okay, now what? Like, you can't just tell me how you feel and then
Right.
be like, okay, so what do you want to do about it?
Yeah.
Because in most cases, most people aren't even disagreeing with it. It's like, okay, cool, I hear you, dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
Paris was fucked up. What do you want to do about it?
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, I don't, like, okay, well, I mean, how are you going to make a contribution aside from post, thoughts and prayers on Facebook?
Right, which is the most passive way to do anything
Right.
ever.
So are you going to donate to the French Red Cross? Are you going to get involved by finding out how you could do more work to support the safety of Muslims in your own community?
Right.
Like, what the fuck are you going to do?
Those are things. Those are actual deliverables, right? I
Yeah.
love that. Deliverables are great.
So it's like, like, I'm not saying that everybody has to. I mean, if you're going to have the capacity to stand up and say something,
Right.
I mean, like, understand that, like, some people on this planet will look at you sideways if you just say all this shit for the sake of being like, oh, that guy sounded really articulate. He was well spoken and he had such a fiery, passionate point. And
Right.
and it's like, yeah, but he's just going home and he's just trying to get laid, or he's, like,
No social.
Yeah.
It's not about the societal
he's,
benefit.
He's at home in 30 minutes on the couch with his pants down. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not
Playing
he's
Halo.
watching Nancy Grace or some shit.
Oh,
It's
God
just like,
damn it.
but like, that's the whole thing. Like, it's not even. You got to be real about
It's
it.
fast food politics,
Yeah.
But
it's not. I mean, here's the thing. Like, that's the thing that sucks. That's the thing that I am. That's my kryptonite.
Yeah.
Is that when it comes to, especially being a bartender and especially being in the environment where, like, you're around people in all walks of life, different perspectives.
You're a ref, man. You're a referee to that.
Yeah, and I mean, but you try to have fun. You try to even recognize. I'm not a Republican, but it's not to say that I don't. I mean, it's not like a one-sider.
Right.
Definitely,
it's not against us or for. Right. It's not. Oh, if you're not for me, you're against me.
Yeah,
It's not like that.
That's the thing, and
Yeah.
and being informed, like, being like, okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with these things,
Mm-hmm.
but the core beliefs of what this is anybody would be down with.
Sure.
So, I mean, even, and just being, and I'm not saying everybody has to geek out and be like, oh, I'm going to, read all of these things or study this or have one side of, I'm just saying that, like, but you have to have, there's a humanity that I think people lose in like, going back to the common sense, like, please don't trip over everything that you hear, because most times it's like you're in the oldest town hall ever conceived,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got booze and everybody's having a good time. There's music playing. Just stop taking yourself so fucking seriously, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't come in this bar to be serious. You came in this bar to let loose. So
Right.
if you come across somebody that says something like, I like pajamas, and you be like, I don't like pajamas, man. If the way they bunch up on me when I'm sleeping, it's kind of fucked up. And it's like, okay, cool. I respect that.
I can see your point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
We don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Again, that's empathy.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of empathy towards each other.
And
Maybe
that's-
you and I, but
Yeah, well,
not a
I mean,
lot, right?
I think it's there. I think
Sure.
I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how I can get to that point with a lot of people I see. But, and I think I'm misunderstood in a lot of ways, because my dialogue with people across the bar is very, very, very just gritty.
Yeah.
And gritty not in a negative way, but just gritty like, look,
Blunt?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that a
It's just
word?
like, hey, man, we're just rapping. The only difference is I have booze behind me and I'm making you something dope.
Right.
Or, but I want to talk to you.
Sure.
Like, I definitely enjoy that, especially when you have those moments where you can entertain that. Now, granted, it's not always like that,
Yeah.
but, you can, if you have an opportunity to have a dialogue, not only about what you're doing, I like appealing to people in the sense that I want people to understand that I take what I do seriously,
Right.
but I don't take myself seriously. So
Yeah.
I want them to have fun. I want us to have fun together. If I'm rapping with a cat for like,
Well, you're 20
20 minutes,
a
then-
humanist,
yeah, well,
right? I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
not, you're not an egoist.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be. I think that, like I said, it's easy to be misunderstood.
Sure.
I think that a lot of people are like, man, he's just, like the difference between being like well spoken or well read or up on current events or just being hip to what's happening and not giving like not letting someone have a response to some idiotic fundamentalist like retard bullshit.
Right.
Like you're picking your battles all the time, but like it's not like I don't want to talk to you. It's like I'm just not going to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So like you want to talk about the Jets, you want to talk about
Mezcal.
Yeah, Mezcal, Ronda Rousey.
Oh man,
just whatever.
Right.
Like I and I don't even follow that shit, but I'm definitely.
But you got because you read, you stay connected to things.
Yeah,
it seems like.
I think that there's a certain obligation.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be a robot, and I know I'm not that by any means, but I don't want to be in that position where you're in a position to talk about something or identify with people or have somebody remember the moment, like have that investment with people where you get to exchange, a spirit, a cherished tradition and being like, hey man, you know what? I'm gonna pour one for myself. Cheers to you for that.
That is an absolute tradition. That's a great moment. Like that's actually one of my favorite things ever. Like traveling anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, will you share just a drink with me?
Yeah.
Right? Don't get drunk, but let's have this ritual. You know? I'm painting this narrative in my head. You were a misfit, as you say, in high school, which makes sense, but I'm sure it kept you on your toes. You're physically fit, mentally acute, I'm sure. These are things I'm going to make as assumptions.
I wouldn't say acute. I think I'm mentally retarded, actually.
Mentally?
No, I'm silly, man. I'm silly all the time. Like, I just spend my time.
But that is not necessarily the product of being retarded or out of touch,
I apologize if anyone is offended by that.
No, I mean, I don't give a shit about that. But it's like humor is a very intellectually driven perspective in communication style, I think. But that's because I like puns, so I'm going to stick up for that no matter what.
I just, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that I think it's important to maintain, like, even in just the most serious moments when you're kind of down and out or there's something going on. I just don't like the idea of losing sight. I don't want to give. I've given so much of myself to people in the past, and I empowered them with that they took it and ran with it.
Is that who you are? My mom is a martyr. I'll put it on paper right now and say that. Like, do you feel like that's your role sometimes, is to be the person that enables other people to do great work at the sake of you kind of losing part of yourself?
It was.
Yeah.
I definitely will say that. Like I put investment in myself to maintain a certain position, not only with myself, but with people that I thought were my friends at the time. This was years ago, but I think I'd made a career out of putting myself dead last.
Yeah.
Like under any circuit, like
everybody else first.
If I felt like I could still carry the load, I would.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, hey man, there was nobody there to be like, hey, you done enough, like.
Right.
But
was the Navy your call? Were you?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Was it like a chance to get college and everything paid for, or was it something else?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that. It was also more college in the Navy, but
good school. Shit.
Yeah, there was a lot. But here's the thing, man. The Navy was. I mean, I was actually. Part of me joined the Navy to take a break from school because wasn't sure if I was ready to finish a degree or even. And I just remember getting in. They're like, "All right, man, we're going. You got boot camp, and then you're going to this school, and then you're this school, and this school, and this school." And I was just like, "Fuck, man,
this is the wrong thing." God,
and they do not fuck around, man.
Yeah.
It was constant. Like, okay, man, look, you don't pass this test, we're shipping you off, and you're going to be, fucking scrubbing buckets on a surfer ship for the rest of your career. You're
right.
Like, I don't want. That's not what I signed up for.
So did you have to like pick it up and really?
Yeah, no, engaged? The learning. I got a hard wake up call in sub school. I remember that because it was, just a submarine and like you're like, okay, I'm gonna be in a submarine. That's cool.
Yeah.
But what you don't understand
Home for Red October. Like, I know how this shit goes.
Yeah, like dude, who didn't join? Yeah. Because, but it was a huge wake up call because of the the seriousness or the nature of the seriousness didn't really hit until I was actually on my first boat.
Mm-hmm.
Even after
where
gone
was
through
that?
school. That was USS Hampton.
Hampton.
That was in Norfolk, yeah.
Okay.
But I remember just having studied boats and all the different systems that are on a boat, on a sub, and how they work, and just having the fundamental basic principles for how whole, like
how it works,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And being like, all right, cool, I aced it, and I didn't ace it. I think I came to the boat with I think I got out of sub school with like a B average, and getting to the boat and you start all over. Because every boat's actually different. A lot of boats, especially Los Angeles class submarines, when I joined, they had what's called a 688I class, which is improved submarine. So the boat that I showed, Hampton, was brand new, and at the time, and just getting down there, they give
so
you
much different stuff, right?
Yeah,
Different
no,
technology.
I mean, it was crazy. They give you a shit ton of. They're like, this is all you.
Sink or
Most
swim,
quals
right?
you got 9 months to figure this out. And if you even if you got it, you had 3 opportunities. You would study, and then they give you this little it was a blue card. It was your qual card, is what they called it, qualification card for submarines.
Yeah.
So there was a signature. There was probably close to 300 signatures on this thing where you had to get from other people that were experts.
It's like vouch for you.
That
right?
vouch for like they would quiz you.
Yeah. It's an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that.
So it was basically like trim and drain. You're going to learn about the 10K pot still, like that makes water on board.
No shit.
Yeah, ventilation, electrical circuits, trim and drain. Or I said that already, but like fire. The biggest thing was damage control. So fire control, damage control, and you learned about everybody's other jobs, and then just any possible casualty you could consider on a submarine.
So much to learn.
To the point to where you're like, there were valves you had to find. You had to know where the valves were, and like different. It all depends.
Was it overwhelming?
Oh yeah, it totally was. Excuse me.
Bless you.
It was. I remember, one of the first questions I got on my first board that I failed was, I'm a molecule of water outside the boat. Bring me in the boat and turn me into air, or actually, bring me into the boat and make me shit you.
What the fuck?
So it's like basically incorporates every system.
Sure.
So
I see.
Yeah,
Okay, so from
like,
bringing it in from a liquid to vapor potential, or bringing it back in, but then desalinizing it, maybe.
Yeah.
Drinking it or eating it, and then it comes.
So
out.
you hit
Wow.
you hit 11 systems in the process,
That's
and
insane.
in the process you go through. Okay, it's going through these valves, and then in the process of you answering the question, they say, okay, well, what happens if there's a leak or there's a purge? What valves do you hit to shut these off? So everybody, that's the kind of mentality that you had, and so they would even, I remember for the fire control part where, so there's these things that we used to wear in the event of a fire called AEB, which is I think it's like aesthetic. I can't remember that.
Sure.
It's EABs definitely is what it's, air apparatus, but. So it was basically a gas mask essentially with a hose, a rubber hose that had like a Presta valve or something close to it.
Okay.
And there were manifolds all over the boat that actually pushed low pressure air.
So you
That's
connect
how you
to
breathe.
it?
You connect to it.
No way.
So you would have to move from manifold to manifold.
How long does it run out? Does it each have its own like little reservoir? Or?
The manifolds they just push air.
Okay,
what you have to do is get to one.
Gotcha.
So you basically, my final, so from the forward app, from an LA class is 352 feet.
Okay, that's massive.
So they start you and they say, okay, here, you're the forward part of the boat, just behind, just after the sonar dome, and they make you walk through blindfolded. They have an EAB, but it's duct tape
Covered,
off.
yeah.
So you're walking and you're feeling the grip on the bulk on the deck, and then you're just walking from forward to aft and hitting the manifolds where they are. So you're just
how many
hitting
manifolds would you say are in a boat?
Oh God,
hundreds,
thousands.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. I don't think there's any. I wouldn't say 1,000. I'd say probably close to 200 or 250.
Wow.
I don't remember that, but
Yeah. No, I don't.
But I remember, you know, you just like you just know where they are. So
Mm-hmm.
they would just the whole point was to like the idea is there's a fire and there's smoke and you
Can't see.
so you're trying to
survive.
hit 'em.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
Wow. How was that? How'd you finish?
It was I mean I had really good teachers. I mean everybody was pretty hardcore.
Yeah. They want you to succeed, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing. Like you have people that are. It's not like any other job. Is that it's like people are depending on you regardless of whether or not you have a master's degree
Right.
or you're an officer.
Doesn't make it how tall you are, how short, nothing.
Yeah.
It's
the
your
structure,
skills.
the rank structure underway is different. Everybody's not necessarily the same,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody, you know, like it's very dressed down
Right.
on a sub.
Interesting.
When we're underway, everybody's like calling the skipper by his first name.
Right.
You know,
well,
like
I mean, you all are in as much danger as each other.
Right.
Right.
So that's kind of that was like the biggest draw. I think I not even know that existed, but I was lucky to have that.
Yeah.
By going
flat organization basically. So how long did you end up finishing your degree programming and such?
Yeah, I finished in the Navy.
How long did it take?
Forever. Forever. Between trying to qualify different things and then it was always
what, like
but that's
8 years?
The thing, it was
or?
constant, man. You couldn't there was rarely a day where you could actually I remember when Dazed and Confused came out.
Yeah. Oh shit, 93, 94?
94.
94, yeah.
Yeah. I was in the fucking Adriatic Sea. And we got
VHS of it?
Yeah, we got a little VHS. So every Friday night we all sit up and just be like, "Oh shit,
oh,
movie
it's
time."
So cool.
And I remember and that the crew watched for the whole deployment, we watched that thing I think every Friday night we were out.
Yeah.
After we got it. I think we got it in Italy. It got shipped to us and then it was like every fucking night.
That's amazing though.
But yeah,
so obviously you've seen it plenty of times.
Yeah.
Who's your guy in Days of Confused?
Actually, man, Ben Affleck's character was my favorite.
Oh, Banyan? Are you fucking kidding me?
I can relate to that.
He's such a dick, though.
I got my ass kicked, just like I got my ass kicked by a guy like that when I was in
elementary school. So it's Stockholm syndrome.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I did the whole run home thing too, man.
Yeah.
I was
your mom full of gut on the guy.
I had wheels, man. I was trying to get there. My sister actually saved my ass.
No shit.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
Well, I had one. She passed away.
Oh, was she younger or older?
Older. She was 5 years older, so she would be 46.
Oh shit! Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh no, it's totally.
And I mean, we all die. I get it, right? It's
gonna happen. Yeah, man. It's gotta happen.
It's just one of those things. But Dazed and Confused. I love to think that no matter where you are in the world, Dazed and Confused can bring you together. Can bring us all together. I bet Linklater never thought about that shit.
He probably didn't. He's got a new movie coming out.
I know, like a sequel, unofficial sequel set in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen the trailer for it yet. I don't think the trailer's out yet.
It's supposed to debut here in Austin. That's all.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably for South by at this point.
Oh, that's right. It is South by. You're right.
Yeah. Have they announced it?
Yeah.
Badass.
They did. I just remember it was like, yeah, it's coming out. But I remember like, it's going to be South by.
It'll unify a whole nother generation of people, man. Because he's got this. I'm not sure how much into movies and stuff you are. It seems like you're probably pretty into it.
I am a retired cinematic junkie.
Yeah. Or did you get like real arty with it?
No, I didn't. I just got depressed because my girl. It's like, you know, it's one thing to be in a bar and be like, "Have you seen this?" Or like, "No, I haven't seen that." I'm like, "What?" But when you're with the person that you're supposed to be with, like for almost all of the rest of your life,
right?
You know, you're kind of like, "You haven't seen that?" And then you watch them watching it, and it's almost like that should be a YouTube video in itself. Like their reaction, like, "I don't get it." And my girl's the worst because she's like, it's like watching a movie with a 9-year-old because she asks 1,000 questions.
She wants to understand.
Oh my God, she totally wants to understand.
But does she ask during the movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
but she's critical though.
Yeah. No, I bet they're great questions.
Yeah, but we totally I started watching the show, the show on NBC, the tattoos, Blind Spot.
Blind Spot. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's the premise of the story is awesome. It's like
it just wakes up randomly, right?
Yeah, wakes up. She's got her memory's been like she's got amnesia.
Yeah,
but her whole body's like tatted from head to toe, and all of the tattoos are like clues to different things that are about to go down.
Gotcha.
And so like it's like you're like, holy shit, that looks rad.
Yeah,
you know, like I kind of like where this is going, but I got her hooked on the show too. but she's like, like and she's a realist about it. She has no tactical, like, if anything, like, I've been in 2 wars, and I've like, and it's funny. I've never said, I don't speak about this shit at home at all, but it's funny to hear her brain. You could just feel it working in the room. She's like, why do they call for backup ever? You're like, and you're kind of like, dude, come on, shut up, man. It's getting good. And she's like, no, but seriously, it's 4 of them.
Suspend the disbelief just for an hour, please. Just a little bit.
Please help me. Yeah. And she's the worst with it. So it's like, I'm like, oh God. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, she's gonna say something. I know it.
Did she have a bullet yet?
Yeah. Like, seriously, like, what the fuck? Like,
God, that's why you gotta go. Just like, well, you're gonna have to watch all the French New Wave because there's no frills. That's just people feeling and making faces.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's subtitled. Like, there's no room for interpretation, no questions.
She loves. I mean, I don't know how many times I've come home from a shift and she's like on the couch, like just teared up. Like, I'm like, oh, dude, rom-coms, like the shittiest rom-coms. But yeah, I mean.
I feel you, and I've managed to. So Lydia is the only person I've ever been with that will sit and love to watch horror movies with me. She likes to be scared, which is really good. That doesn't happen often. So like when we watched Halloween together, the original one for the first time, it's
which
just
is
like
fucking scary.
It is intensely scary movie. It's great. We saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They re-released the 35mm print. Yeah. We're both fucking terrified. We get out of it. I've seen that 10 times at least. We get into the
dude. Yeah. It's funny. This was not that long ago. So we went to one of my girlfriend's coworkers' houses, and we were talking about movies, and she does not do scary movies, so I end up watching them on my own.
Yeah,
which is kind of like, it's cool because
it's not exactly the same though.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
So I remember I was talking about Poltergeist,
the original,
and I was saying like when that movie came out, that movie fucked me up.
Terrifying. It's still terrifying.
So it just so happened that my man had a copy of it, so we watched it, and she's laughing.
What?
Like she's like, oh, she's like, this is hilarious. I don't know how do you get scared at this, and it's like, dude, can you like, first off, and it's like that's our age gap where I'm like completely calling myself out. Like, okay, first off, when that shit came out,
terrifying.
I had dolls. I had like, I'll never forget this, man. When I was in England, and I still talk about this to my mom and dad.
So there we are, stopping briefly to end part 1 of my interview with Shid. It's a great chat. I hope you guys have enjoyed it thus far, and I can't wait to conclude it with part 2 later this week. So thanks so much for listening to Show to V with Mike G, and remember to keep dancing.